Welcome back to WCCF Talks Gaming, episode 16. I'm your host, Keith. We've got Dave and Chris here with us today. Hello, everyone.
What up?
Everybody's got good drinks, and I've got water.
Have Guinness. Don't worry, so have I.
Oh, good. I'm not alone on the water one. Good deal, good deal. So topics today, we got a few things that we're going to burn through. We've got Baldur's Gate 3, right, Chris? Is that what it is? Chris has been playing that one. We've got some questions. Yes. He's going to tell us all about it because I haven't been able to get his attention for a few days. We're going to go
my
through.
preview will be out soon, but I've been playing it like mad.
Very good. And backwards compatibility for Sony and Microsoft is a very interesting topic. These things get more interesting as time goes on. And then we're going to talk about some Pikmin. I think there's something new with Pikmin going on, and Captain Crunch.
We'll end up asking you what you're playing as well, but that'll be the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about some Captain Crunch. I mean, CD Projekt Red Crunch, not Captain Crunch. I guess it's all the same.
So hungry.
I know, right? It's like, it is almost lunchtime for me here.
Cereal.
We're always hungry here in America. But what I'm hungry for is some information on Baldur's Gate 3. Because I have not played Baldur's Gate 2 since I was young. I'm still young, even that's what I tell myself, but it's been a while. So
it has been a while.
Talk to us about Baldur's Gate 3. What is it? Who's it for? And what would you call it?
Wait, it's an RPG. What would I call it?
I don't know.
Baldur's Gate 3. It's an RPG. Have you played the Divinity games? Nope.
I have.
Oh, you have. I was going to say, I'm waiting for that. Think Divinity Original Sin 2, but a bit more D&D-ified. So, it's not like the original Baldur's Gate or Baldur's Gate 2. It's certainly more action. Well, actually, I wouldn't say that. There's a lot of action in this first chapter. It's early access. You've only got the first chapter or the first part of the game. And that's still absolutely massive. The most interesting part about this is the fact that it's in early access and it's just the first chapter. You can really see how much depth that Larian are going into. You've only got one area to go around, or it's multiple areas in one thing, but there's so much depth. There's so many different quests. There's the conversation trees. Everything is so massive and intertwined. Your decisions have a massive impact, and you're going to look at a D20 dice and curse it to hell, because no matter what happens, I could need to roll a 7, I'm going to roll a 1. I need to roll a 2, I'm going to roll a 1. I need to roll a 1, somehow the dice is going to shoot out of the screen and lodge itself into my fucking eye.
Hold on. Can I stop you for a second? I've got a big question about the dice rolling in this game.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with D&D rules and how the game works, and this is based a lot off of those rules as far as roll for initiative, attacks, and
based on the rules completely.
Okay, so I want to compare it to a different gaming series for a second. So, Elder Scrolls, and I know that it's not a direct thing. I don't want anybody in the audience to think that I'm, but. Are the roles in it very similar to the change from? Is it more like the roles in? What was the third one? I can't even think of it. Morrowind. Was it like Morrowind, or is it more like Oblivion? Because they both have the role system, but one is in Oblivion. You're always going to hit something. Sometimes in Morrowind, you could sit there and just swing your knife at a crab 20 times and hit it once.
Yeah, it's more like the Morrowind. I was going to say you're probably looking more like Morrowind. So the thing with combat, you don't actually see the die rolls. With combat, you see. How can I best think of it? You're probably looking again like Original Sin or maybe Dragon Age, where you'll see a percentage chance of hit. So either you're there with your sword, spear, however, you might have a 30% chance to hit. Now, I've had it before where got a 30% chance to hit. I've missed about 10 times in a row. It's just life.
So is it turn-based, the combat?
Yes. Yes, okay. It's turn-based.
And once you go into like fighting, it's like strategy-based, like you get X number of moves for steps and then attacks.
Right. So when you go in the actual open world or in the world, it's all real time. You just point, click, walk. When you get into combat, when you're so close, it then becomes turn based in the way in the top corner you've got a little line of what order people are going to fight, and each character's got they've got some movement bars, can move however much that bar until it's run out, with different terrain having a larger impact. If you go through water, it slows you down, uses more of your bar. You jump, it uses a big chunk of your bar. You've also got skills to extend that. Then you've got a action point and special action point. So you can attack using your action point and use an ability for the special. And then you've got magical characters which have got different spell points. So you've got like level 1 spells, you might have 4 spell points. Level 2, you may have 2. And then again, the effectiveness of this, it'll say for your attack, it'll say like um D2 for the attack damage. So however you roll, the game will roll 2 die with 4, and then you do however much damage, but you don't see those dice rolls. You
Okay.
only actually see the dice rolls for sort of ability checks. So, for example, you're in a conversation when we were talking yesterday. Um, I had a load of goblins, and they tied this gnome or a dwarf or I don't know, something short. They tied it to a windmill, and I'm there trying to talk them into like just get him down. I want him. My task was to rescue him, and I had to roll like a 16, and you actually see the roll on the screen for
Okay.
checks like that.
That was
So
kinda one of the things I was wondering about. Do you see
yeah,
it each
perception
time
checks,
or
strength checks, and you actually see the checks.
that's
And it's all
cool.
based on your character attributes. So as you level up, and leveling up is so slow in this. I'm level 4 and I've been playing it like 20 hours.
Wow. But it sounds like it holds on to the classic style.
Yes,
It's not
I
like
would say so.
so it's not like that big jump where it's making it overly mainstream. They're holding
No,
on to
I think it's a mixture of both.
it's
If you want core D&D, it's not perfect for that, but I think it's as close as it can be while making it accessible to general gamers.
that's fair enough. Would I like it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think everybody would like it. I think again, it's early access. It's buggy as all hell. I've been playing it for absolutely ages. And my preview's going to go. It might be live. I may have put it up by the time this podcast goes out, but I absolutely love it, and it's only the first chapter. It's buggy as hell. I've had it crash on me. I've had the camera go through the floor. I've had the camera
Oh,
go into
wow.
terrain. I've had
Well
character models after they've died stretch out like Mr. Fantastic. But I'm willing to forgive that because there's so much depth. The conversation system is brilliant, and all the little secrets and everything you can just explore. And my one piece of advice for everybody is save like absolute hell, because around every corner you're just like one corner away from death. I was killed by a mirror, for God's sake.
I believe it.
Hey,
But
something we touched on with that with Baldur's Gate 3 is it is and I know this isn't really on the dock for conversation, but I do wanna bring it up. It's
okay,
early access, and it's full price.
yeah.
Is
Well, yeah, but you're going to get the full game regardless.
okay. Okay.
So
I know everybody's a little funny about early access because there's sometimes that I want into it. Like if I'm offered a game, would you recommend this to somebody that's not a diehard fan for early access, or would you say wait until the full release? I think that's where I'm going because I know there's games out there that as they're releasing, I would love to be able to play it, even if there's problems. If I'm like, hey, I can get in here a few months early and I can play it and I can enjoy it. Now, me as a reviewer for hardware and such, I wouldn't try to get performance evaluations off of,
yeah, yeah.
early access stuff, but I would like to play through it.
So
But it,
normally, not yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from. Normally, for an RPG, I would say no, but for Baldur's Gate, considering the fact that essentially this chapter now, it's got a good ending part to it. Um, it's not complete like an ending as
Yeah,
you
yeah,
would
yeah.
normally see one, but it leads into something. You could treat it like an episodic game at worst case. Like you're playing the first episode now as it's been released in early access, and when they release the next one, you could just follow on.
Is that how they're gonna do it? Release it in chunks, or is it you get what's
As
there now until
yeah,
you get the full
from
release?
everything I've said, is yeah, they're going to be releasing it in chunks. So chapter one's here, they'll be polishing and updating as it goes on, and then eventually you'll get chapter two. Again, they'll be polishing, and then finally chapter three.
Speaking of chapter 3, Pikmin 3? Is that what
Oh god,
is that what
what a
Dave was talking
terrible
about?
segue!
Like, that was
That
as
is
bad as the Segway that ran off the
atrocious.
mountain and killed the
That
inventor.
is
That was
atrocious.
that was so good. That was so good. But first, I actually need
Stop
to ask Chris.
kissing us, Dave.
I need to ask Chris what his Baldur's Gate 3 character looks like.
He's got it on right now.
Long
What is
hair.
he? Yeah.
Brown long hair, just not too, just a bit, probably a more attractive.
Send me a
version of me.
picture of it, and I'll put it on the screen during the live stream playback or
Because,
the podcast playback. Yeah.
Go on.
Here's another thing that you can like seek out to put on screen. So the Baldur's Gate 3 devs actually they decided to do a little fun stuff with their analytics. And one of the things they decided to do was make a character based off of all the most popular character creation options.
Okay.
And I saw and it turns out the devs were a little bit miffed to find out that they put a lot of effort into the character creator, and if they put together all the most popular options, it looks like what they said in their words, the default vault dweller from Fallout, because it was
Really?
it was a white guy who was mildly handsome with short brown hair.
Oh no, God, no.
That would be fun. I'm gonna.
What have you done? We gave you the ability to have horns and tails and green skin, and you made this.
Yeah, you made generic adventurer.
Whenever I make a character, I sort of make it that looks. It looks as close as to me as I'm going to allow a character to look.
Sure.
I'm going to attach it now.
Yeah, send that over. I'll put it on the playback. So if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to the audio version, try and check out the video version so you can see this.
It's my character
combined
with.
Well,
you also create a love interest in it.
While Chris is sending us
harassed by the love interest.
Chris, you're a redheaded lady.
No, I'm the guy. The redheaded lady is my perfect woman.
Before we move into Pikmin, that's really cool stuff. And before we move into that, we're talking about gameplay and stuff. Guys, if you follow our channel outside of for just the podcast and you're used to seeing like raw gameplay footage and such that we put into our reviews over on the site, and you'd like to keep seeing those kind of things as well as some live streams, because Dave started doing some gaming live streams, we're going to link the new channel. It'll be WCCF Tech Plays, and it'll be all about strictly gameplay and gaming over there. So if you want to go see that stuff, we'll link that so you can find that easily enough. But
I'm going to be pushing for more high quality gameplay content for you.
Exactly. So that'll be good stuff. So Dave, talk to me about Pikmin 3, because I haven't played Pikmin since I played it on my GameCube when it first came out.
Pikmin 3. Okay, so this game came out a whopping 7 years ago, originally on Wii U.
That's what I thought. That's why I was so confused when you said Pikmin 3. I was like, I swear I've seen that.
I think everybody forgot about the Wii U by now.
Yeah, now we've got Pikmin 3 Deluxe. And I was a big fan of Pikmin 3 when it first came out on Wii U. When it came out, I was like, this is the first big, good game which is brand new on Wii U other than Nintendo Land, which is multiplayer focused. And I adored it at the time. And I went back to it in years following. I went into the mission mode and played that in co-op with friends. Had a lot of fun. But one of the problems I had was, unfortunately, the Wii U gamepad. As a controller, I actually really, really like the gamepad. I don't like having to look down and look up and look down and look up while playing a game.
Well, I
It was
think that's
really
the problem with the Wii U.
yeah. Now, it had a lot of good ideas because you could look down at the gamepad and you had the three separate characters in Pikmin 3, and you can choose a character and say, go to this part of the map while I do this. Then when they arrive, you can swap characters, complete some tasks, and swap characters. So you're multitasking in that true RTS style. And I was saying to Chris earlier that I feel like this is a true action RTS.
You would like to know as well, Dave, Pikmin 3 demo is downloaded.
I can't wait to see what you think about it. But yeah, so one of my favorite parts of the game, though, like I said, it wasn't the Wii U gamepad; it was actually the game itself. In mission mode, though, you could swap to different controller styles, and the controller style that I actually used the most was the Wii remote and nunchuck, because being able to aim at the screen to direct a Pikmin and then press a button to throw them just made the whole game much more natural to play, much more immediate. It felt like there was less faffing about, because by default your cursor for where you're throwing and aiming a Pikmin just sort of goes slightly ahead of where your character's walking. So you need to walk back and then move into position and then press the button to throw the Pikmin. And of course, if you're just pointing at the screen, or if you it's like clicking a mouse, isn't it? You can just It's so much easier. With Pikmin 3 Deluxe, you can use the Wii U Pro controller. I tried to look for it to see if I could pick it up. It's on the floor. You can pick up the the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and you can put on gyro controls so you can move it independently and have like a cursor go up on the screen. I adore this so much more. This was a really important thing for me. I'm really happy it's there. And then in addition to that, the entire story mode, which, like I said, I already really enjoyed, now has full co-op support. And so about a week ago, I was sat here with a friend. I put the game on. We both had the Pro controller, both using the gyro controls. I was saying, oh, you go to that part of the map and do that. I'll go here and do this. And just played it for hours. No questions. Just really enjoyed ourselves. And I think we all know that a game is better with friends. And this game, these are the improvements I needed to take this game from like a really good 8 to edging higher.
Oh, wow.
Edging higher.
Edging
That's
higher.
good.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Cool, so
cool.
like I said, this was a game I enjoyed, and now this is truly the definitive version, and it's actually on a system people own. So that's good.
I'm anxious to hear Chris's feedback on that, because I may one day be able to play along if I'm allowed to have the thing from the kid.
Oh, you're still keeping it secret?
Yeah, well, Santa Claus hasn't come through yet, but now that does bring us on to another topic that's real interesting, because that is an older game that's now playable on a new console. Backwards compatibility for these new consoles. It's kind of a now. I don't want to say it's kind of an issue, but it's because it's not. One console seems to be embracing it all in.
Yeah.
But Dave's got a couple questions on the way Microsoft is handling it, because they've spoken really highly of a few things, but there's one key one that they've kind of left out. And then we've got Sony, which seems to be stumbling the whole way through this backwards compatibility discussion. And you know what? Because we're probably going to have more to say on Sony and how that's going on, I'd like for Dave to kick us off on the big elephant in the room that nobody's talking about when it comes to Microsoft and backwards compatibility. What is that, Dave? What is the elephant?
So yeah, I think just to start off, Microsoft's general motto, their general aim with backwards compatibility, I find really great. On Xbox Series X, or S, you'll be playing games that go back all the way to the original system, and even on Series X, you'll be running original Xbox games at 1440p. Not so sure they'll look that sharp at that resolution. Not so sure the textures will hold up. However, it's really cool to see them move in these directions. On top of having 360 games running at 4K, this is all wonderful news. However, on the Xbox One X, we're gonna have to remember the branding again now. On the Xbox One X, when you'd pop a disc in, and usually you'd have a downloadable version of that game to run on your system. It come like an emulator wrapper. Certain games had improvements, like Final Fantasy 13 had higher resolution cutscenes that would be in the downloadable version, as opposed to what was on the disc, which is always nice. But how are we going to verify ownership of these games on the Xbox Series S, which is, of course, a discless system? I am a little bit worried. I'm thinking Do I have a small stack of 360 games that I'm just not going to be able to use on Series S? Is Microsoft going to ask for like repurchases of some of these games? It's really really weird right now because that ownership verification for physical games isn't really there. And of course, if you go back to the original Xbox, there's no digital versions of those
You know,
to my knowledge.
I've
So
not thought about that because my Xbox, I do own a lot of 360 games, like physical discs.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I had thought about grabbing I've mentioned before how much the reason I wanted the console with the disc drive is that I use it in my living room, part of my
Yeah.
home theater. Um, but I thought about getting the Series S for here in my office. And actually, I play more games here in my office than I do on the TV in the living room. So that
Mhm.
kind of does put a really interesting perspective on it because I do play those older
Yeah.
games. I mean, right now I'm spending my spare time playing my old PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and like we've seen a lot of Series X previews right now, which is
mhm.
that's wonderful. We're seeing a lot of Series X previews, most of it focusing on backwards compatibility. So it's like it's whatever. Clearly, that's something they really want to talk about, and possibly some of the newer games aren't fully ready to be shown off yet. But I expect we'll see that within the next month, of course. But we haven't seen many previews of the Series S, and it does have me concerned. And of course, this is following on from news that said the Series S won't have the same backwards compatibility enhancements that the Xbox One X does.
And that makes
So, like,
sense.
it makes sense to a degree. It
Yeah.
is like it's a slightly weaker console in terms of teraflops. I think we all know here that that's not the be all and end all.
No.
Especially when it comes with the new hardware, it's
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
have
yeah.
better support for like future games and engines and such. So saying it's weaker isn't quite right. However,
No.
having said that, it does still feel weird to have a new console release that is missing an important feature the last console had. It's like if the PS5 came out and there was some things the PS4 Pro did better,
That would
that
be a
would blow
weird one.
minds.
Mind
That would
I
blown.
blow
tell you what,
minds. And we're not questioning it so much with the
I
Series S.
suppose.
Again, we haven't seen so many previews or anything, so time will
Yeah.
tell, and maybe it's perfectly fine, but still interested to
I
see how
think
that one shakes out.
I think the
I
ownership.
suppose it's a weird one. It's like because Sony with their discless version, it's the same console just without the disc drive.
Yes, absolutely.
Microsoft, could they have done the same thing?
That is well, I think we opened a can of worms here on this one
Mm,
because we at least see where the Series X, the X is going. The S is
Mm.
questionable. Um, we know it's going to get it, just not to the same degree. But what about PlayStation? What in the world are they doing? I'm seeing reports of some games you can't move the save over, like the save
yeah,
won't move, or it's
yeah,
some things are getting enhancements, but maybe
yeah.
not. And
With the enhancements, a lot of that is going to be. I don't understand any first party titles not getting enhancements because they should really just be doing that
I mean,
just to promote the
get
bloody
higher
console.
resolution at
But
least.
third party titles, I can't. That's down to another entity completely. Do they want to spend the dev hours, the man time on it?
It is very strange though, because so the good news is, of course, PS5 has said that vast
Yeah,
majority of titles
something
are
like
confirmed backwards
4,000
compatibility right now.
titles, something stupid
Yeah.
like that.
And they've confirmed 10 titles that won't work, and
Yeah,
quite frankly, they're 10 titles no one cares about. So
I
don't
can't
be
I'm
fooled.
good
remember
with
which
that. I'm
ones
good
they
with
were.
that.
We'll see. We'll see if PT works. That's important to me because I don't want to lose that.
Well, that's
But
not on the list of things that don't work, but
yeah, but it's
again,
also being delisted, so maybe they're pretending it
yeah.
doesn't exist. I
Well,
don't
I think that's the whole
Oh
point.
yeah.
It technically isn't a game. It was just like a little
Yeah.
playable demo thing.
It's one of those things that's only important to me, really. I would like to be able to hold on to that if I can, because I've still got it downloaded. But anyway, it's really odd. Like I said, vast majority of titles are perfectly working, which is great. But it looks like the PS5, when running games in PS5 mode, for a lot of titles, won't be able to read PS4 save data. They haven't really explicitly said why this is the case, and they said that like a save
It's
data moving will be down to developer discretion. but this all seems so weird and backwards to me in an age where we've mentioned Divinity Original Sin 2 earlier, in an age where you can play that on Switch and PC and have cross save, and
Yeah.
you can't do cross save between PS4 and PS5. That is really, really odd for me.
Well, I mean, they have
I think
cloud
what's going on
save
with
is a thing on the consoles, right? PlayStation 4
Yeah,
has cloud
yeah.
saving.
So that's the thing. It seems like you can move your saves over, but when you're running a game in PS5 mode, if it's the enhanced version, it might not be able to read the PS4 save
I wonder
data.
if it's something to do with just how the game's stored, or
Yeah. So my
The
question
file
is,
system?
and maybe
yeah, possibly.
one of my questions is, and it hasn't been answered to my knowledge yet, is what if I'm playing a game in PS4 backwards compatibility mode, and then I pay for the enhancement if it's not free? Do I have to start again, or does the save carried over? And
Again,
they've
they've said
hasn't been
it
answered.
depends on the developer.
But that's another point, though. It's like, Sony, you made the save system architecture of this console. Why didn't you make it continue working?
Yeah, why
And
not just?
it's not
surely
good enough, in my
surely
opinion, to have
save
that down
system
to developer
architecture
discretion.
can't
That's
be
a mess.
So if I get the PS4 version of Spider-Man Miles Morales, I play half the game and then I pay for an upgrade to the PS5 version. Do I keep my save? I don't know.
Yeah,
And that's
Honestly,
so weird.
all I
Well-
care about is making sure Final Fantasy VII Remake works.
I'm gonna throw you. the real. Hold
I've
on.
had part 1. I want to continue on to part 2 with my characters.
That's true.
That's
True,
a very valid point. There's that, and you mentioned Spider-Man Miles Morales is very important, and I get there's going to be a lot of people that hear it and they're like, Keith, they're releasing the PlayStation 5. Just buy the PlayStation 5. Good freaking luck until March. I'm telling you guys, good luck getting one until March. And you know what? For the 15 people out there that have one, congratulations. Because that's like the same reason I don't run around with one of these 3090s going, yeah, I got one. I don't know why everybody's complaining. Because it doesn't, just because you got one doesn't mean that everybody else that wants it can get it.
Yeah, people always seem to forget that just because one person can do something, it doesn't make it so for everybody in the world.
Well, it's the
Yeah,
holiday
like-
season.
I
And
don't say there is a finite.
yeah,
finite
and
amount.
Spider-Man Miles Morales is going to be one of those big hit holiday games. And if you
Yeah.
want to play it today, you get it for your well, not today, but you know when it launches, you're going to most likely have to get it on your PlayStation 4. You're not going to buy the PlayStation 5 version, and maybe
Yeah,
you're okay with paying for the upgrade.
Yeah,
Mm.
but even then, like, my concern is, like, what if, for whatever reason, say you got a PS5 for Christmas,
I want
but
one.
but your like mother or your parent or whoever, your partner, gets you the PS4 version of the game, and you just don't happen to upgrade it until you've played it for a few hours. Even if it's on the same system, we don't know if the save will carry over.
That's a
Yeah.
just as valid of a
That-
point. Maybe the PS.
It's like,
See, the only thing I can imagine, though, again, with it being down to the developers, Sony aren't going to be as stupid as some of Sony's actions are. I don't think Sony are going to be stupid enough to not have their first-party games.
yes,
Not
I agree.
They're
do that.
exclusive. I agree with that.
Yeah,
I
Um,
agree with that.
First-party
Again,
games.
it's that the problem is that we
Yeah,
just
I
haven't
understand
had
what
those
you're saying.
answers. Those
Yeah.
answers are really weird when Microsoft has been so good at communicating everything up until now, aside from the Series S stuff.
I was just going to say,
Disclaimer.
with that exception.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess that's just where we are right now with the backwards compatibility. I mean, it's not like the
Mhm.
consoles don't come out in 1 month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're not coming out for everybody in a month.
I know,
Let's
I
face
know.
it.
I'm telling you,
There's-
March. You're
there's
gonna have a hard time
enough-
getting them till March.
There's enough consoles coming out from both. I get the feeling that Microsoft have got a larger supply because they're actually doing the worldwide launch. Sony had to, well, very, very quietly back away from the worldwide launch,
Staggered.
as in
Yeah.
they only announced that they weren't going ahead with the promised worldwide launch on the day they announced the release date.
They either did that
So-
or they wanted to concentrate their efforts and have more per region
Well,
that they're selling
I've
it
been
in.
saying it. I've been saying it for so long. I genuinely think it's simply down to manufacturing issues.
You're gonna get
Manufacturing
that.
and supply due to COVID.
You're going to get that from both consoles. Nvidia's dealing with it right now with their 30 series. And if anybody thinks that the Zen 3 CPUs that launch next month and then the RTX, the Radeon RX 6000 series graphics cards that's launching right behind it aren't going to have the same issues, then you're just delusional.
Yeah.
I want to be proven wrong. Prove
Yes.
me wrong. That's all I'm going to say at this point.
Yeah, no, I don't expect to be able to walk into a store and walk out with a console for a good few months.
Yeah.
But if you're
Now,
I mean,
listening, Sony,
I wouldn't be surprised to see Nintendo Switch before Christmas end up dipping down in
yeah,
terms of stock.
well,
they're hard to find
see,
right
the only
now.
thing about Nintendo Switch is the fact that everybody massively bought out the
Well,
Switch as
they're
the
Yeah.
around
lockdown
here.
started happening.
None of the local places have any.
Yeah,
We
I'm gonna say
order.
it's still an after effect of
Yeah,
that.
I was told by 2 different retailers that they will not stock anymore in the stores until after Christmas. They're
Oh.
only going to sell it online because they can't keep enough. It's like with Nvidia,
Yeah,
they had so
the
much trouble
demand is
fighting
outstripping the
with the
supply.
demand on their own store. They don't even sell their founders editions. They're just selling them through Best Buy now.
Yeah.
It's
So,
getting crazy. Um, but that
so
lead
the
you
whole
know,
point of this, then, Sony, if you're listening, PS5, if you want to send one over before, stop it, Dave.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want
I
one
know.
before Ratchet and Clank.
I'll tell you all
I'll
about
pay
it.
you, Sony. I'll pay you.
Anyway, all of the craziness of this year has definitely led to a few things, including the pushback of launches, including
Yeah,
CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. And it just got pushed back again.
twice.
It just
Oh
got
no, it's not being pushed back again.
Just crunching. Just
yeah.
crunching.
Just crunch.
So to avoid pushback, they've gone into
Hmm.
crunch.
Hmm.
Who wants to explain to the beautiful audience that we have what is crunch? Chris, tell us what crunch is. I'm just going to pick you.
Essentially, well, you know more about it because you've been in the management side of this. But yes, you find crunch in different forms everywhere in every sort of industry. But when it comes to video games, essentially, they're doing a hell of a lot more intense amount of work. They're doing more hours in the same period of time to hit what are, well, unrealistic deadlines. That's that's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, it's I've dealt with it, and there was one industry that I worked in for quite a while, and I'm going to be the weird guy and say that crunch was actually the most exciting. Doesn't I didn't say most fun
Yeah.
thing, but it was always the most exciting. I was in project management with large scale retail remodels, so we would go into a 250,000 square foot facility, and while it was operating, we'd rip it to pieces and rebuild it entirely, and you had 12 weeks to do it in. And
Yeah,
it never
I've had similar things on
yeah,
smaller stores where a store's having a refit, and when I worked in retail, stores having a refit, and they're bringing people in, and
yeah,
it's literally work until 10 at night to completely overhaul the store. They don't want the store to close, so it's
exactly.
like literally
Yeah,
smash it down, or
and
they'll
I know
close the
somebody's out
store
there
for
going, "Hey,
one
that's
day.
not the same thing." It kind of is. You've got a very
Yeah.
large, expensive investment going on that is imperative that it get done within a time frame window because as much as people don't like to admit it, there are people investing their money into this
Mm.
and they want to see a return on their investment and it's hard to continue. You run into the point where you go, "I've delayed it and the people putting up the funding for it have agreed to extend it, which is costing more for development." And then you get down to the last minute and it's like, look, we've already
Mhm.
extended it, we've already pushed it back, and here we are. You either make it or you're broken. Like,
So the
and it now my understanding this time is though this was not is it mandatory
Yes, it
crunch?
is mandatory.
Okay.
So the email went out to all employees. It's a mandatory crunch. It's an extra one working day a week for the final 6 weeks until launch. That doesn't, and this is everybody's coming up with the excuse that, oh, it's only one day a week for 6 weeks. But the problem is, and everybody seems to forget, that back in January, in an investor call, it was admitted back then that crunch was required in some form or another from then onwards. And that was back then when they first delayed it. They will have been crunching from before that. We
Mm.
know for a fact, see, Cyberpunk 2077 has been in a form of crunch, maybe not one day a week every week, maybe it's been one day a month extra,
Or an
but it's been
hour
in it
a
won't have been
day.
now,
Like,
but yeah, yeah. But it's been in a form of crunch for a minimum of 10 months. And when they finally release it in November, that's 11 months.
And we
So
all know what happens when it launches.
it'll sell like fuck,
No, no,
and
no.
then
You go right back into the mines because now you've got the bugs
yeah,
rolling in.
yeah, that's it. The simple fact is that the crunch, and I understand they want to get the game. They've delayed it twice. Again, COVID. As much as people say, like everybody says, like oh, we're home working, blah blah blah. COVID will have had an impact. It's not only with a game like Cyberpunk, with any game, whatever update you do, you're going to be limited by the amount of data that can be sent backwards and forwards, and everybody's got to be on at least a similar sort of version.
Mm.
So it has undeniably had an impact. That is why it's been delayed essentially 6, 7 months from when it was originally being coming out.
What
And
Yeah.
I think
see
my issue is simple. People look at it and they're just like, because it's CD Project Red, they're defending them. And it's pure hypocrisy that everybody jumps on the back of Epic Games for Fortnite. Epic, absolutely horrible how they've treated employees. BioWare with Anthem, despicable. And you can list companies over, and you can keep going. Rockstar, how they treat everybody with Grand Theft Auto and then Red Dead Redemption. It is disgusting. It damages lives. It hurts people's health. It hurts their mental health. It kills their social lives and their family
Mhm.
lives. But because this is, they did it with Red Dead 2. They're doing it now with Cyberpunk. Because it's CD Project Red. Oh, it's okay. It's CD. They're not a bad company. No.
Hey,
You did it with Naughty Dog as well.
you
Yeah.
know, here's something I'm wondering, Chris. So we're talking about we all agree one of the worst parts of crunch is what it does to the people, the creators. Because
Yeah.
honestly, real fans, and people can get mad if they hear this, but real fans are the worst they'll get with the delay is disappointment.
Hmm.
They'll just go, "Oh, I was really looking forward to that." Now,
Yeah.
if you tell them ahead of now, if you waited until like the last week and we're like, "Hey guys, we're gonna delay it."
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
get ahead of
Give
it. Get ahead of it.
forewarning. Yeah.
But to swing all the way back around to the beginning of the podcast today, would you rather see the crunch or would you rather them release it? Because the game is gold now, is it not? Have they not
Yeah.
The
gone
game's
gold?
gold.
They're
This
gone
this
gold.
final 6 week of crunch is literally to iron out every bit of everything that's been found in QA.
What if they transitioned from and the only reason I say this for CD Project Red, and I'm going to sound like one of the defenders here for a second, they're not a they're not EA, they're not Ubisoft, they are themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they got GOG and they're part of that, but why would it hurt them? Would you think differently of them if they said, "Hey, we're going to release it in early access form as we finish up testing for the
Uh,
few, and it'll be in
so
early access for 6 weeks," rather than
so yeah, I understand what you're saying there. I suppose it's not really early access. Early access is for when content's missing. They're still developing content. The content is there. Um, it's an awkward one. The reason why they're crunching, they want it to be as bug free as possible, is because of the promise that
Oh, Chris, you broke your mic. You broke your mic.
yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
there you go. Okay.
Yeah, so they've always been a company where they will publicly say it's ready when it's ready. We'll release it when it's ready. Now, it technically isn't ready if they still need to fix the bugs. It's gold. The content's there. They don't need to release it on the in November, or they don't really. Surely they can extend it by just put the release back by 2 weeks. 2 weeks. If it's one day a week for 6 weeks, okay, so that's an extra 6 days for the whole studio. Set it back by 1 week. You've done the same thing. You're not going to lose sales for a 1 week delay. There's
No.
no reason to work people. Yeah, and again, but then again, this boils back to what I've been saying. We know for a fact they've been in crunch for at least 10 months. Um, yeah, again, I'm saying it's crunch is not as excessive. Some and people may have been crunchers in. They've said, right, I'll work an extra day this week, 1 day a month, and they may have volunteered to do this. It was gaming. I think it was not game industry. I forgot who. Game Informer, who've put out on a podcast about they had a conversation with the employees, and the majority volunteered to work 1 extra day. But again, that's a spin on things. We don't know how many people the manager's spoken to. Again, there's always that instinctive thing. If a manager says, "Right, we need to work extra," are you happy to work extra? If you say no, your job's in the shit. It They may
I
not
know.
explicitly say that, but
Yeah.
it's absolute bullshit to say, right, they've volunteered for this. No, they haven't volunteered. There is already a threat. And it's just irritating. There's so many excuses made because this is CD Projekt Red. People are excusing it, and it's absolute nonsense. I'm not saying they're a bad company. I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk. I like CD Projekt Red, but I'm not going to suddenly say, well, since it's CD Projekt Red, it's all fine, because it's not. There's no reason
Yeah,
to have not
I,
been more efficient.
and also on top of that, from what we've heard from Jason Schreier, who is usually the source of many of these
Mm,
reports regarding crunch, he said that he spoke to several employees, and from their perspective at least, there was never a conversation saying, "Would you rather working extra?"
yeah.
So
And I'm
maybe
sure
that
they're
happened to some
salaried.
employees, but
And
yeah,
that's why I took a bit of issue to the Game Informer thing where they said and fair enough, they may have spoken to some employees who
Mm,
were asked, do you want to work? And if the managers at CD Projekt Red spoke to 50 people and said, right, we need to get this done, are you happy to work? If 30 of those people said, yeah, I'm happy to do that extra, then making it mandatory for every single developer and saying a majority we've spoken to said it's fine. No,
yeah.
you've not spoken to a majority of the company. You've
You've spoken
spoken
to
to
enough.
a few. Yeah,
Enough people to get
not
your
even
opinion.
enough.
Yeah. Well, no, to get your
And
opinion through.
Yeah, just to give you an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to all of that, we have to acknowledge the fact that this game has been delayed for like a year since its original target date, I
I think
believe.
it was originally coming out in April, wasn't it?
Was that the first delay though? I feel like it was
Yeah, I
supposed to come
think
out before
it
that.
was going to be in April, and then I think it was
Okay,
delayed to September,
Yeah,
and
it was
then
right,
definitely
right.
delayed
Okay,
again
April.
to November.
okay, fair enough.
It was in
So
April
yeah,
because that's when another game launched.
Marvel
Doom.
Avengers was meant to be
so
coming
it's
out
been
at
like
similar time.
six
Yeah,
to 7 months delay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
from April to November. Yeah,
I think we've already discussed about how important it is for investors and also the people that own the company to get these games out on time. Like,
hmm.
no company does delay with ease. No company just says, "Yep, 6 months today, we'll do that easy." No one does that. And
Yeah,
to think that people haven't been working pretty much full steam ahead since the announcement of the first delay
yeah,
would be insane.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So
I think
I feel
that's
like
what's irritating.
this is just the most recent news from the end stretch, and like we've said, the game has gone gold. But uh, the indication from my perspective, if they're saying that they're still crunching for the next several weeks up until launch, that means it's going to have a big old day one patch.
Yeah,
Oh
oh,
Lord,
Um,
yes.
that's all it
and I
is.
mean, hell,
Literally, that's all this is the day one patch.
yeah, I remember just hearing some words from people who played The Witcher 3 on debug PlayStation 4 units back when that was originally coming out. I never did myself, but basically they said the performance was bad, and the decider for their score was going to be how it performed after they saw the patch.
Yeah.
And luckily, after they saw the patch, most of them were like, "Okay, this is much much better." But I can imagine that the team are going through pretty much exactly the same thing right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they're pushing
it's
it.
just so weird because again, I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk. I'm never going to deny that, and I'll never tell people like because people have crunched on a game, don't buy it. These
Oh, yeah.
people have worked incredibly hard on the game,
You know,
and
that's the hard part, isn't it?
yeah,
If they
the
crunch like
people,
that and then you don't buy it because they crunched, they did it for nothing.
yeah. I'm gonna say, I this is an
But
excuse that people keep making. They're saying you're crapping on the work. It's like, no, I'm not crapping on their
yeah.
work. I'm saying they've been overworked, or
Mhm.
it should have just been extended. I don't care that they get paid overtime. That's the law in Poland. Yes, I understand in America you get to crunch and they just tell you you're doing it and we're not going to pay you
And it's
because
like, "Your
fuck you.
salary."
Yeah. Even if you're on a salary here in the UK, in Poland, salaried, you get paid overtime if you have to work overtime.
Mhm.
And it's like you shouldn't expect people, whether whatever country they're for, and start saying, "Well, at least they're getting paid for it." That doesn't matter. I don't
Yeah,
work
work-life
overtime.
balance is
Yeah.
important.
I'm saying I never work overtime. I will never do it. I haven't worked overtime for 3 years now, and when they ask me, I'll say, "No, I don't work overtime." I'm willing to swap a shift, like, I'll come in now and have a different time off,
Mhm.
but the simple fact is for me, my time at home, my time away from my actual day job is vastly more important to me than any amount of money. And I think that will be the same for some of the developers at CD
Oh, yeah.
Projekt Red.
Especially the
Maybe
ones
not
with
all,
families.
maybe some of them will love it, and maybe some of them, like, again, single people who, again, with the pandemic aren't really going out, work's just a way to get out of the house. Fair enough. Make the most of it, but telling the public, well, we asked some people and the
They were
majority said
okay
this.
with working extra,
Yeah,
so we
it's
just
absolute bullshit, and
nah.
people are just buying into it just because of the company.
Yeah, I think that is one big catch that you gotta worry about is the thought that some people think that you're saying that they shouldn't buy something because these people crunched. Because when you do that
Yeah,
and you don't buy something that you were looking forward to over the idea of crunch, then you're only really hurting the developers,
Yeah.
and you're
you
but
know what?
you did
Buy the
you
game. Maybe wait 1 month to buy the game because, and it, well, not even a month. Wait 1 2 weeks because first week sales, they're some of the most important for any games company
yeah,
because
then
that's
go
what
and
they
buy it.
base so much on.
Yeah, because you feel like if you buy it right off the bat that you're saying it was okay, even though you may not be. How many people really know? How many people buying this game really even know about crunch?
Oh, they won't.
That's
The
what I'm
vast
saying. Like
majority
it's
won't.
very very few, but the people that know, I think the best thing to do is just reach out to the company and just express your opinion. I think it's
Yeah,
more
Yeah.
important to send an
yeah.
email, send a letter, tweet at them. I
Just
guess I don't know.
be publicly supportive of the developers, the actual developers, not the company.
There you
Um,
go.
and even when it's done, tell them absolute fan. If it's a fantastic game, absolute fantastic game you've made. I'm sorry that you were forced to work extra for 10 months, if
Right.
not more. But yeah,
Well, guys,
and
is
yeah.
there anything else you got, Chris? I think we about wrapped up on our
I
time
could
allotment
probably
for today.
rant on this more and the myriad of excuses that people come up with for crunch, but
If you write an article about it, we'll link it down in the comment section and pin
yeah,
it.
I do need to because there's so many excuses that are absolute nonsense.
So, Dave, you
Yeah,
got anything to wrap us up with today?
I
Genshin
will.
Impact is all right.
It's all
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
support Mihoyo, support Genshin Impact. It's
Yeah.
not their fault that they're based in China and China has rules that
That
force
should have
them
been
to
a
censor
topic
things.
today. That should have been a topic today. But yeah,
Next
like
time, next time.
you are allowed to criticize the Chinese government and also play Genshin Impact.
Yes,
I
you
like
are.
the sound of it. I will third that statement entirely
What's your
because
last
I
question then,
also
Keith? What are you playing right now?
what am I playing right now? God of War 3.
Good
Cool. Fun.
So, what about you, Dave? What are you playing? Oh, you're playing Baldur's Gate
I
3. Or not
No,
Dave,
no, no.
Chris is playing
I'm a
Baldur's
Pikmin
Gate.
guy. I'm playing Pikmin. I a little bit Torchlight free, which I believe review
Oh.
embargo for that will be going up tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Um,
Is it good?
I'll get back to you.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
you
not
can't
allowed to
say.
say.
Wait, it'll go
And I've
this
got Age of Empires 3 Definitive
I
Edition.
don't know yet anyway. I don't know if it's good yet. I'll figure it out and let you know.
All right. We'll catch you guys in the next one.